Afternoon, everyone. My name is Suliat Lawal, and today I'll be recording about the vulnerability assessment of my partner's server. His name is Cameron Yong, and I would like to say that it has been a very long journey for both of us, but we did enjoy every single bit of it. Sometimes there is a couple of sleepless nights, but we did enjoy it, and we would like to say thank you to our professor for giving us the opportunity to be able to learn something wonderful. All right, let's start. So, the vulnerability assessment itself was done to see how well we're able to secure our server from from attackers law, or shall I use the word hackers? And either using through being able to get access to being able to get as gain access to our SSL, or being able to get access using brute force to get into the server. So okay, so the first thing I would like to let you guys know is that for the server, we dealt with two type of operating system. We dealt with Linux, and we also dealt with Windows. For the Windows, it was specifically Windows 2019, and for the Linux, it was Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. Sorry, TLS. And for that, we were supposed to enable some protocols. The protocols were supposed to enable the firewall, the HAPAMO, the HTTPS, the POP3S, SMTPS, the IMAPs, the DNS, the database, and the SSH. So to be more specific with the Windows, we are to deal with the firewall. We are also to deal with the HTTPS, the SMTP, the SMTPS, and we are also to deal with the DNS. We are talking about the data, I believe the domain name for the server, and for the Ubuntu, we are supposed to make sure that all protocols are enabled. Okay, so the next thing I would like to just talk a little bit about is the vulnerability assessment itself. The main reason why we need it is the process of identifying risks in the network, the system, or applications to prevent risks of attack from hackers. So by doing the vulnerability test, you can be able to know what the organization itself is lacking in terms of security. So by creating the scan and making sure that by doing the scan continuously, they are able to do what is kind of like an audit, to be able to know their strong point, to be able to know. And the funny thing about the reason why I also like the vulnerability is the fact that it also give us a solution to each of the problem that is being given, so that we can be able to implement the solution, enable any protocols that we need to enable, delete delete some of the things that is not needed to make it much more secure. And I've come to realize that less is always best. So that is the reason why we always need vulnerability assessment in the organization. Even for our server too, it is also needed. So there are ways. So in for the vulnerability ranking, what is used to help with the vulnerability ranking is the common vulnerability scoring system. This particular score is actually created to make it easier for organization to be able to understand it, making it as basic as you can, for them to be able to understand when the risk is critical, it is low, medium, or high. So with a little bit of equation, they come up with a scale ranging from zero point 0.0 to 10. For the low one, it has to be from 0.0 to 3.9. For the medium, it's from 4.0 to 6.9. And for high, it's from 7.0 to 10. So now what I would like to explain is that after running my vulnerability for my Windows server alone, I only found one and it was medium. Oh, I didn't put the actual score, but it was medium, and it was for my HTTPS, which is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. So my main issue with it is that the TLS version that I use is considered weak, which is version 1.0 to version 1.2. So it's saying that because it is very weak, it is very easy for hackers to get around it, to be able to get to my personal information. I'm talking about my email, my bank information, and you name it. Any other personal information that you get by browsing, they'll be able to get it. So that, and for my Ubuntu, one thing actually what I notice about Ubuntu is that I have a couple that needs a little bit of work on, and I notice that all of them has to do they is like all of them had the same issue. But what I found interesting is that although they are all the same issue, the way in which we are going to treat them is actually different. Meaning, when I'm talking about when it comes to recommendation, their recommendation for each is different. So for my Postgres SQL, which is we are talking about the database protocol. The house C4 is considered weak, so it has to be upgraded. And the same thing, the TLS server suite, meaning the protocol server suite that is being used is also considered very weak. So it also has to be upgraded or deleted. And I noticed for my POP3S and my IMAP, they are both the same issue also. And another thing that I was added to those is the parameter. It is stated that if all right, thank you. So it says that for the parameters, any any server with bits that is less than or equal to 1024, it is considered weak. And with brute force, it will be very, very easy for hackers to be able to get into the server. So that's another issue that we come up with, that we came across. So for the hardening recommendation, I know you guys might not be able to just see this protocol because it's a little bit tiny, but I'm going to explain it. So for the hardening recommendation for the HTTPS, it's considered very easy to do. So you can actually do it by using PowerShell. So the first thing you have to do is make sure you download the PowerShell into your system. Once it is downloaded, then you write the code that I put here. This code at itself will disable the TLS version for 1.1 till it is set to 1.1 here. But in our case, so you can actually disable it by changing the numbers to fit in exactly what you want. So for this code is for 1.1, you can disable it for the 1.0, and you can use rewrite the code again and do it for 1.2. So by doing this, you are actually disabling the TLS version or the SSL version for the Windows. So meaning that any encryption that comes with SSL version 1.1 to 1.2 will not be able to come into your server. So now we have to talk about for the POP3S and high maps. I use the same thing because they are both configured using Dovecot. So for this particular code, I believe you find it in the dovecot.conf. So with this code, look at this. Is this what the first one? Let's see. What this is telling you is that the SSL protocols that is being used is version 3 and version 2, meaning that version 1 is not enabled. So remember I talked about the RC4 that is considered weak. So this one, if you see, these are the SSL version that are listed, meaning that the RC4 is not part of it, meaning that it has already. So by using this, meaning you are not going to be using anything that has to do with RC4. But to be more safer, I will encourage you to actually the um include the code, the command codes to cancel the RC4. So another thing that it also mentioned is about the DH parameters that has to be greater than 1024. Look at this. It's saying that the bit by default is 1024. Look at the way they write it. So what this is telling you is that this is the bit that is required, meaning that it has to be greater than or equal to 2.2.7. So greater than or equal to the numbers that is already written here. So look at it here. You said the the look at this particular one right here. So the parameters right here, I'm so sorry, my line is a little bit wiggly. You notice that the DH parameter length that was given is 2048 bits, which is considered higher than what we had before. So it will also keep the server secure, actually very, very secure. So when it comes to hardening of the PostgreSQL, there are three things that we'll be doing. One of them is that we are going to verify that the SSL um, certificate that we got is the actual one that we needed, which is to make sure that the the server certificate for the client and us are actually the same. So for private, you see that it is server.key, and for client is server.har. You have to just verify it. Then after doing that, you make sure that everything is okay. The next one is you have to go to the the postgres.conf and conf file. On this one, did you notice that there is 9 on here? It means that the version that was used where I copied the code from is version 9. I believe has is version 10. I'm not too sure, but I have to go back to my code to my server to see exactly which version it is. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that make sure you look into the server to make sure that to know your version of PostgreSQL so that you put the version here. Once you do that, you're going to be given a series of files. Then you focus on the ones you need to focus on. So you'll be focused on the two parts. So the basically you're only focusing on the SSL underscore cipher part, which is how the SSL is configured itself. First thing you have to make sure is that all the SSL cipher suite protocol, if it is 1.1, 1.0 to 1.1, according to my according to the error I saw on the server, then what we'll have to do is that we have to delete it. Then, or if you do not want to delete it, you can change that particular one to use a higher version, which is going to be that version 1.3 or version 2 and version 3. So for this time around, we are just deleting it. And this is the code you use when you're trying to delete. Then another one is the RC4. So this is the code you write in when you're trying to make sure that the RC4 is deleted, because since it's considered weak, so you have to delete it also to make sure that everything is okay. Then once you do that, you'll notice that it will prevent the brute force that the hackers are trying to implement to get into the server, and make sure everything is okay. This is my reference. Thank you.